books as a teenager?
Well, that was actually one of your harder questions, if you can believe it, because I don't feel like there were that many teenage books around when I was a teenager. That I read all the Judy Blume and the Roald Dahl and the Island of the Blue Dolphin and all these really great books as a preteen. And then when I hit teenage years, it was like, well, now what? And I was in English, so I read a lot of the things that they had me read for English, and they were pretty, well, they were fascinating in a way, but they just didn't speak to me, to my heart so much, until my sophomore year in high school. My English teacher, Miss Vickers, who was quite a character, signed a separate piece by John Fowles, and then it was like, oh, finally a character that's my age, more or less, and that I can relate to, and a story that I can relate to. And that was like, wow, why don't they why are they assigning books about Julius Caesar and Odysseus when there's books like this out there? But I liked, there were certain other adult authors that I liked too. I'm trying to think now. John Steinbeck, I was really into him just because of the whole political thing he had going. And I liked this old guy named Saki, who writes these wicked short stories that have an evil sense of humor. And I really enjoyed them just because they were so different from everything else.
Well, what are your favorite young adult authors now, more contemporary? Do you read them now?
Now it just feels like there's this bonanza. I can't even keep up. But I like anything that gets a Prince Award or a Prince Honor. John Green, Carolyn Mackler, Ellen Hopkins. I really like contemporary stories, as you can tell here. I just finished reading On the Jellicoe Road, which was a fascinating book set in Australia about wars going on at school, at a boarding school. And I think there's, gosh, I joined the class of 2K9 and the 2009 debutantes when my book came out, and
I'm sorry, could you explain what that is? I'm not sure what that is.
Well, those are groups that are set up. They're all authors that had their debut middle grade or young adult novel come out in 2009. And so it started as sort of, I think 2K9 had a little bit more of a marketing focus, but it really becomes like this social network of you plus all these other authors who are all going through the same thing to help each other out. And the 2009 debutantes is very much, it's set up on LiveJournal. It's kind of a blog, a locked blog format, so that we can all post and comment on each other's stuff. And between those two groups, there's probably like 65 or 70 debut authors, and my goal this year has been to read every last one of their debut novels, which I haven't quite managed, but there's just some amazing new authors like Sidney Salter and Jackson Pierce.
Have you had a favorite novel among them yet?
I am very lousy at picking favorites.
Or just a couple ones that you really enjoyed.
Okay, well, I really enjoyed My Big Nose and Other Natural Disasters by Sidney Salter. And I really love The Season by Sarah MacLean. It's a Regency romance, but the main characters are really strong young women, so it sort of like turns the whole genre on its head, because it has these really kick-butt characters instead of little damsels in distress. It's really a nice change of pace. And then there's The Forest of Hands and Teeth, which is a zombie story, very dark and moody, really beautiful. And let's see. Shadowed Summer by Sandra Mitchell. It's kind of a ghost story. South. I love Southern authors, and although she isn't Southern, she really captures that Southern feeling.
What, as an author, drew you to the genre of young adult rather than starting off writing adult fiction?
Are these the same questions? These seem like very different questions than what I got. Go ahead and ask me that again.
What drew you to writing the genre of young adult rather than adult fiction?
Okay, well, that's a very good question. When I started writing, I didn't really know what I was going to write about. And I started, because I love to travel, I started writing about travel things first. And then I just started thinking about things that I had passion around. And they were things that had happened during my teen years that just hadn't worked out. They were like that, and unlike other projects where I started and stopped and quit, this one I just kept going and going until I had a whole novel. So that made me think I was on the right track writing it. There's something, I guess I really do like adult fiction, but with young adult fiction there's a lot of figuring things out, figuring out who you are, even when things are very tragic and terrible, there's a sense, not like you're at the end of your life and your life is a failure, but rather that you can move on and do new and exciting things, figure things out, and make your life better. There's that hopeful, uplifting quality in young adult books that isn't always there with adult books.
Young adult books and authors are normally under a lot of fire. You know, they get banned more often about mature content. Do you ever feel pressure to keep that stuff out of your book, or because a lot of it was in your book, did you worry about how it would be received?
I just didn't worry about it. When I wrote the book, I was just writing from my heart, and it seems to me that if you leave those things out, and unless there's a real good reason to leave them out, it will feel untrue. And it's not like you want to put in things just for gratuitous purposes for entertainment, but if your teenagers never think about sex or never consider smoking a joint or something, it just feels like, what planet do they live on? So I didn't think about that, and when it came to having the book published, my editor never considered taking this out or anything. She did say that really because of the exploration of sexual orientation, that I would probably be excluded from half the schools, libraries in the country. And well, if you want to write about what's in your heart, you can't be worrying about that.
What drew you to that subject in particular, of teenagers with questions about their sexuality?
At first it seemed like I was inspired by the fact that I went to my high school reunion, and there was a lot of drama about no one in my class of 500 classmates in Palo Alto, California, not one of them was openly gay in high school. And of course, one would know, just statistically speaking, there should be at least 30 to 60 people who were in my class. And so at the reunion, some people did come out, and that caused a bit of drama. And there were still people who would say, oh, well, I'm gay, but don't tell so-and-so because he's my friend and he's Mormon and he won't understand. And so that really inspired me, because I just thought, what a heavy-duty thing to be keeping this secret your whole time in high school. And then when I thought about it after I wrote the book, I realized it was a lot about keeping a secret, and I had some nasty family secret that I was supposed to keep in high school, and so I could really identify with how painful it is to try to hide a part of yourself.